Hi there, welcome to the channel. Today's topic is a continuation of goal setting. Now, I've already done one video where I show how to identify and set out your various goals and all the systems and projects and tasks that go with it. So this part of the video, I'm going to talk about how I've identified and set up my goals and how I'm going to be tracking them throughout the year. So I followed steps as I set out last time. So step one is identify the areas of your life you need or want goals for, and I've identified them all here. So step two is develop your goal into a compelling sentence. Now I did that for each and every one of my 15 goals, and as I did it, I knew that I could not keep 15 goals. That was ridiculous. So as an example, my tramping goal, which I've already detailed briefly in my previous video, is I want to do a tramp by May 2026 and be fit and strong because it'll keep me healthy and away from the medical system and give me back my tramping mojo. Now that, of course, it's slightly different from the sentence I developed before, but it really doesn't matter. It's just about having a really compelling reason and a time frame for why I want to do any particular goal. So step three is to prioritize your goals, and I of course use the Eisenhower matrix as I demonstrated previously. So here's the Eisenhower matrix of my goals, and I've called them something slightly different just to confuse everybody, including myself. So over here in Q1, all the things that are urgent and important are my health goals. These are all things that you need to do something every single day in order to meet the goal. If I don't keep up with these things, my health will decline and then it will become really, really urgent and really, really important. And I'd like to avoid that. So I put this up at a really high priority. I also want to sell my caravan. The best time to sell it is coming into summer. We are in August now, and there's a few things I need to sort out in it before I can sell it. So I need to really get my A into G and get that done. So I've put that over here. It's urgent and it's important. Over here in Q2, these are things that are important but not urgent. I have directing my show, doing a tramp, doing this YouTube channel, and doing my creative writing. Now, there are deadlines associated with these top three. As long as I keep all of these things in Q2, I keep planning out the tasks and doing all the tasks, I will not need to move this over unless I continually neglect to do anything. So if I don't train for my tramp, it's going to become urgent that I get fit and strong. If I don't plan out my show and do anything, it's going to become really, really urgent that I get things done. But for now, they all sit here quite comfortably. Moving over to Q3, these are things that are urgent but not important. Now I've put in repairs and maintenance and cleaning. My reasons is that cleaning and repairs are always urgent. Something is always dirty and needing cleaning. Something is always broken and needing a repair. But neither of these things are really that important. So over here in Q4, things that are not urgent and not important is build a house, get married, and finish my dad's last tapestry. To be clear, these are important, but not right now. They're on a much longer time frame, so I don't need to worry about them right now while I have all of this going on. So step four is to break each goal into action steps. But before I do that, I'm going to do a reality check. So if you end up with something that looks like this, I would highly recommend you do the same. These are all the same goal. They're all about my health. That can go into one bucket there, so that's goal one. So another system, which I forgot to look at before, I have a very well established system that I use to allocate budget, that I use to track all my spending, that I use to track all my debt pay downs. So I don't need a separate set of goals for this here. Repairs and maintenance, I do need a bit of a system for that because I'm not getting it done, which is why it's popped up on this list. But cleaning, I do not need a goal for cleaning. I have a system already in place and it's working perfectly fine. I don't need a whole separate system developed through this process for my cleaning. It's done. Over here, if my next step is to do a big task list, that's a massive task list for either one of these. And because it's not a high priority right now, I am not prepared to do a task list. I'm going to keep them on here because I think it's important that I identify that I need to do these one day, but I'm not going to do a detailed task list. However, what I am going to do here, and I've cheated a bit by having it all in pencil, I'm going to do a task list, high level, to get a sense of scale. So these ones are, I'm not going to set out a detailed task list. For these, absolutely, I'm going to plan out my tasks and systems. Repairs and maintenance, I've deleted cleaning, and I'm going to keep a repairs list and I'm going to book in some time. Over here, I'm going to set out tasks and systems, do as a priority. So what I end up with, I have 10 goals now, and I've done a revised list in my book here. So I have my revised list, goals 1 and 2 up here in Q1, goals 3 to 6 are Q2, repairs and maintenance sit in Q3, and then I have 8, 9 and 10 in Q4. So we are now on to step 4, and to break each goal into action steps. I'm not going to do that on camera. I'm going to go away and do that, and then I will come back and I will show you what I've prepared. So what I've done since last time is break down every single one of my goals into action steps and tasks, some of them in more detail than others. So let's go to tramping and break that down in more detail. So what I've done here is I've identified action steps. So I need to book travel and accommodation, I need to sort out my gear, I need to sort out my food, and I need to do some training. But for training I've put sea health, so I'm not going to do separate training for tramping. It'll just be what I do in terms of general health. So my tasks for travel and accommodation is my first step. I need to check Air New Zealand for flights and figure out which towns it flies into. I need to organise my trailhead transport. If there's no pickup from the flight town, I need to look at a bus. And then once I have all of those logistics sorted, I need to book the flights, sort my trailhead transport and my accommodation. And I want to get that all done by September. The next task list is for my gear check. So I've put down to do this by November for the check and by February to purchase anything. I want to give myself a bit of time in case anything's a bit pricey. So first one is to make a list of all my gear needed, including clothes. I need to check them, try them on, test all gear. I then need to repair anything, buy anything that's beyond repair, and I need to check if I need gas for this particular tramp. Some of them you don't need it, it's provided in the huts. Other ones you need to take your own and your stove. And the final one here is my task list for food. Obviously that's not going to happen until April, May, right before I go on the tramp. So that was step 4, which is break each goal into action steps. And step 5 is to allocate time to each project and system. And what I've ended up doing is kind of rolling that into step 6, which is to set it all up, all the systems, the tasks, the trackers, and a review schedule. So what I did is I went into Etsy and looked at designs for goal setting, and I found some by Annalita Designs. She set up a system of yearly goals, 90-day goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, and daily goals. I don't think that every single stage of these is going to be necessary, but I am going to start by setting out every single step at every single time period that's broken down and see what works for me, and then adapt as I go. I have already started doing this, and I've set it up into my Franken planner. So what I'm doing is I've set out the goals for the rest of 2025 just to try out what will work and what won't. So when it comes to things like my health goals, which requires me to do something every single day and there's no real due date for it to have everything done by, I could write them all out. I could write that I need to have done 28 days of walking every single month, and I could write these all down in the yearly goals. And I did actually try doing that in one version of this, but it became cluttered quickly and essentially meaningless. So I have broken down in August. I've said I want to have my caravan fixed by August, my Warrant of Fitness by September, listed by October, and then we'll go from there. And my tramp, I need to have my travel and accommodation booked here and my gear checked by November. So I have set out a couple of goals in here. We then turn to the 90-day goals, and this is August, September, so in actual fact it's 60. I've identified 6 goals, and for my tramp I have my goals of booking my flights, booking my trailhead transport, and booking my accommodation, and my reward is having everything together ready to go. For my monthly goals, for those same 3 goals, I've broken it down again. Goal 1 is my health, and I've done my action steps, and I've done a similar thing here for writing and tramping. For my weekly goals, I haven't bothered filling out why do I want to accomplish it, because I've already done that exercise and I don't need to repeat it every single week. And then I've broken it down again. It looks exactly the same as it did on the monthly goals, and tramping is exactly the same. There's even a little habit tracker, and I've filled it out. So for dailies, I've split the dailies into weekdays and weekends. So I have my sleep, for my fitness and strength, and for writing is 30 minutes of writing every day. For the weekend, I'm not quite as strict on my sleep. I can get to bed a little bit later. I still have to write every day though. So what I found straight away with this is that it's very repetitive. I'm writing the same things over and over again. So I don't think I need to use every single time period in the system to set and track my goals. So for the rest of this year, I'm going to use this system, and I'm going to see how it works and which bits naturally drop away. Although these 6 steps and all the Eisenhower matrix and all of those things may seem laborious and repetitive, and why on earth would you want to do that just to say you need to get 8 hours of sleep a night? But by doing this entire stepped out system, particularly the prioritization, has really helped me figure out what it is that's important to me. Cleaning is the best example here. Because of its urgency, I think is elevated to an importance far greater than what it deserves. So I'm going to be re-looking at my cleaning system and seeing what it is I can change to reallocate some of the time that I spend each week cleaning to something else that is of far more importance to me. That's as far as I'm going to be able to go at this stage, as I am still trialing systems. But I will keep you updated on how this goes over the next few months. And sometime before the end of the year, I can recap what I've done here today and then set out my goals for next year. I hope you found this helpful. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.